In 1971, Philip Zimbardo's early group behavior studies recorded something unexpected. Leadership roles consistently emerge within the first minutes of interaction, without assignment or discussion. Participants later could not accurately explain why they followed certain individuals over others. What the data showed was not persuasion, but immediate structural recognition by the human mind. In 1971, social psychologist Philip Zimbardo observed something that quietly unsettled the field of behavioral science. In controlled group experiments designed to study authority dynamics, researchers noticed a recurring pattern. Certain individuals were consistently deferred to, even when they had not been assigned leadership roles, and even when their contributions were objectively equal or weaker than others in the group. No instructions were given to follow them. No hierarchy was established. Yet the group behaved as if one had already formed. The phenomenon was not random, it was repeatable. The question that emerged was not why do leaders emerge? It was more precise than that. Why does the human mind so quickly decide who deserves to be followed, before any real evidence of competence appears? This pattern is best understood through what social psychologists refer to as implicit authority assignment, the unconscious ranking system humans apply within seconds of group formation. It draws from multiple overlapping concepts: Robert Cialdini's principle of social proof, Solomon Asch's conformity experiments, and Daniel Kahneman's distinction between System 1 and System 2 thinking. System 1 does not wait for logic, it evaluates signals, rapidly, quietly, automatically, and within that system, authority is not earned first, it is assigned first, then later justified. By the end of this analysis, you will not only understand how authority emerges in groups, you will begin to recognize the micro patterns that silently determine who gets listened to and who becomes invisible before speaking at all. The implications are not abstract. They are observable in every meeting, classroom, conversation, and social circle you have ever entered. In group formation studies, the first 30 to 90 seconds are disproportionately important. Individuals are not evaluating content at this stage. They are mapping structure: who speaks first, who pauses before responding, who aligns their gaze with others, who occupies silence without discomfort. These signals form what researchers call a pre-verbal hierarchy map. Authority is often not claimed, it is assumed through behavioral compression. The fewer unnecessary movements or verbal fillers a person uses, the more cognitively stable they appear to others. This is not about dominance in the aggressive sense. It is about predictability under observation. To detect this in real time, observe one thing. When a group first forms, notice who others unconsciously orient toward after a pause, not after speech. That is where authority begins to attach. This leads to a deeper mechanism beneath it. Humans are sensitive to signs of mental strain in others. Excessive verbal hedging, rapid justification, or over-explanation increases perceived cognitive load. The observer interprets this not as honesty, but as instability in decision-making architecture. In contrast, individuals who speak in structured, minimal units are perceived as having resolved thinking, even when no evidence supports it. The mind does not evaluate correctness first, it evaluates effort visibility. High visible effort is often misread as uncertainty, not diligence. This creates a paradox. The more someone tries to be understood, the less authority they often project. To detect this mechanism, listen for unnecessary elaboration. Not what is said, but what is added without functional purpose. Each extra justification reduces perceived authority by increasing cognitive noise. And yet, even this is not the deepest layer. In uncertain environments, groups unconsciously search for individuals who appear to carry less emotional volatility. This is not rational, it is risk distribution behavior. If one person appears steady, others implicitly transfer decision weight onto them. This is why calm individuals in chaotic discussions often become default anchors. Not because they are correct, but because they reduce perceived social risk. Authority is frequently a byproduct of emotional predictability, not competence. The group is not asking, who is right? It is asking, who will not destabilize us if followed. Detection is subtle. Watch for moments when disagreement occurs, and notice who remains visually unchanged. That individual often begins to accumulate unspoken influence immediately afterward. But this is where the model becomes more complex. But here is where it becomes more complex. The same traits that generate authority in one group can completely fail in another. A calm, structured communicator may be seen as authoritative in high uncertainty environments, but in highly competitive intellectual groups, that same behavior can be interpreted as lack of engagement or low-stake involvement. Conversely, expressive variability, often seen as weakness in structured settings, can signal passion and expertise in creative or high-energy environments. There is no universal authority signal. There are only context-dependent interpretations of confidence under uncertainty. What appears as natural leadership is often just behavioral compatibility with a specific environmental expectation model. This reframes the entire concept. Authority is not a trait, it is a fit error between behavior and context expectations. And yet, the illusion remains powerful enough that most people never question it, which leads to the next layer. Once one person receives initial deference, something subtle begins to happen. Others adjust their behavior to match that first signal. This is known in behavioral science as a cascade effect, where early judgments disproportionately influence subsequent group perception. A single nod of agreement can recalibrate the entire group's perception of hierarchy. Authority is often not distributed evenly, it is amplified through repetition of minor confirmations. Each micro-affirmation does not just support the individual, it reduces the cognitive cost of disagreement for everyone else. To detect this, watch who receives the first agreement signal in ambiguous discussions. That moment often determines the entire structure that follows. But even this is not where the process ends. Once authority is assigned, even weakly, behavior begins to shift on both sides. The perceived authority figure becomes slightly more structured in speech. Others become slightly more deferential. This feedback loop stabilizes the hierarchy without explicit agreement. What begins as perception becomes behavior. What becomes behavior becomes confirmation. This is how informal authority becomes indistinguishable from actual competence over time. To observe it, notice how quickly group tone adjusts after someone speaks with initial confidence. The group does not question whether authority is justified. They adjust to make it coherent, and now the system is complete. If these mechanisms operate consistently across environments, then authority is far less about inherent quality than most people assume. It is not simply earned. It is constructed through rapid, unconscious negotiation between observers. This means many individuals you perceive as natural leaders may have simply aligned early with the group's expectation model. And many who are overlooked may not lack competence. They may simply fail to match the group's initial calibration window. The unsettling implication is not that authority is fake, it is that it is fragile, contextual, and often assigned before truth has time to enter the system at all. Which raises a quieter question. How many of your own judgments about others were formed before evidence had a chance to matter? Now that you understand the mechanism, there are 3 practical observations that change how this system can be seen in real time. First, track who speaks without seeking validation after speaking. Authority often attaches to those who do not repair their own statements. Second, observe who others orient toward during silence, not speech. Orientation is a stronger signal than agreement. Third, notice how quickly group tone stabilizes after one person introduces structure into ambiguity. That stabilization point is where authority is silently assigned. You are not looking for leaders. You are watching the moment leadership is decided without announcement. Once you can see this, group behavior stops appearing random. It becomes readable, structured, predictable. And the final realization is simple but difficult to ignore. Authority is rarely taken. It is recognized early, reinforced quietly, and justified later. The next layer of this subject explores something even more precise: how certain individuals learn to manipulate this timing window itself.